They don't need a man who's got it made, always looking for that renegade. I calls it like I sees it, a spade is a spade. A good man is a thing of yesterday, yeah. They don't want them a good man.
Good afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon, Christopher. How are you?
I'm doing well. It used to always be good morning, Sean. Good morning, Chris. But we've changed our time slot. We're Sunday afternoon, 2:14 start today.
Yes, sir. I was thinking
Yeah,
that when you said it, good afternoon, it sounded a little strange.
it does. Yeah, it does.
I was laughing to myself when I heard the song came on because I was listening to my podcast the other day.
Yeah.
I was shoveling. I listened to
Okay.
podcasts
Yeah.
and that music started playing. I went, "Oh, right, which podcast is this?" And then our voices came on. I went, "Oh, yeah, that's kind of weird."
Oh,
But we're
that's
all these famous people writing to us. But you know what? My my cousin started listening to our podcast this week for the first time. He says he really has been enjoying it, and another person I know from Vegas started listening to it, really been enjoying it. So yeah, it's nice to get new
great.
listeners. Yeah,
That's great. One
absolutely.
person at a time.
Hey, only 10 billion to go. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's you've had a big week.
I've
Uh,
had a busy week. Yeah,
you
yeah.
have.
Back to work this week, which was nice. A little bit of a lull in that. I was looking for a job for a while, which isn't easy.
No, no, but
Been been interesting, but yeah, grateful to be back at work and working kind of in a field that I know. Decking and construction, so that's kind of cool.
yeah,
And in the winter, as a landscaper, there's not much going on, so it's good to
no,
have. Good to have things to do in the during the day. Idle hands, as they say, it's not the best thing. So.
no, and I don't know what the current unemployment rate is. I know, like my son, like not that he wasn't working, but he was looking for other jobs and doing things, and like the amount of the resumes he put in and just never
Oh
heard
yeah, it's a process.
did.
Yeah, I don't think the unemployment rate is that high, but it's I think it's more the other way. The availability of work is limited, right? So
Yeah.
there's more people looking for work than there are jobs. So
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I never understand when it says hi if that means good or bad. I always get
yeah,
on that.
yeah.
I
Well,
know.
it is.
I know. There's one kid that's working. Had this kid show up at my door this week, and it was freezing cold out.
Yeah,
And the only reason I answer the door, because I'm a chicken shit. If I don't know who's at the door, I don't answer it. I'm not interested.
you have a camera though, right?
I do have a camera, but it's not right direct, and I couldn't see. But the power company's supposed to be coming this week to install new meters.
Okay.
And I saw this jacket through like I have a blurred window kind of, and I thought, oh, it's the power company. So I opened the
Right,
door right away. I'm like, oh, it's not the power company.
right,
So
right.
it's this I think this newly immigrated kid, nice kid. Um, he's got a vest on and a coat, and he's selling these mesh eavesdrop
Yeah, yeah.
mesh coverings to stop
Okay.
going in
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah,
And it's freezing, and he's trying to talk to me, and I said, "Would you just come in? Just come in." Like I'm like,
yeah.
so he comes in, and he says, "Listen, all we want to do is give you a free estimate."
Hmm.
And then, I said, "Well, listen, if you guys want to give me a free estimate, I'm not really in the mode for anything." I said, "But sure, you
Yeah,
know."
yeah,
Then he starts taking my name, my email address, and then he says something. I'm like, "Ew." He's like, "Well, they'll come look." And then I said, "Do I have to be home?" He goes, "Yeah, because they're going to come in and talk to you about it. It takes about 45 minutes." And I'm like, 45 minutes for a free estimate? Like,
right. Yeah,
I'm getting a little bit back up, but he's talking me into, and I just want him to go at this point, right?
yeah.
Promise the story gets better. So anyway,
Okay.
I go upstairs and I Google it, and it's
Mhm.
right away I'm getting these like these guys are scammers. Be careful. Like
Oh boy.
some people said their product's okay. They're a big enough company, but like they're saying like, they sat down and the first quote they were trying to get me to spend $5,000 on these mesh guards and I got the guy down to $1,500. I'm like, well, how can you go from five to $1,500? And just story after story, like just stay away from these people. So
Right.
I've got an email already confirming this appointment. So I email this back and I say, I'm sorry. I've changed my mind. I'm not meeting anybody. Don't want anybody in my house. Not talking about it. And I have no money.
Right.
8 emails later. I mean, I'm literally like, listen, I'm bankrupt. I couldn't buy these if I wanted them. I'm sick. I don't want you in my house. It's not happening. So finally,
Right.
he finishes it by saying, okay, sir, but if you ever want to, let us know. Okay.
Hmm.
Next night, supper time. Knock, 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 knock. Look out. It's him again, but he's got a
Oh,
girl this time. This
oh
young.
boy.
I'm like, oh, so here we go. I don't answer the door. And they stand there like for 5 minutes waiting for me.
Oh
I'm like,
boy.
so no, no problem. So I go out yesterday to wash my wife's car and she texts me, they're back again. And I'm like, oh my cow, man.
Yeah.
Like it's like inviting a vampire in your house. If you invite them in, they're allowed to stay. Holy cow.
Yeah, and honestly, it's such a strange thing. I mean, I think when we were young, like door-to-door sales, it wasn't that unusual,
No,
right?
and you kind of trusted them. Like if you
That's
wanted
how
something,
a lot of things started off back in the day. I don't
for
know if
sure.
I was watching a program last night. There was an Avon lady, and my mom was an Avon lady for a little while.
My
Had her
mom
little
too.
suitcase with stuff. I had a similar thing last week. I literally had just sat down. I happened to have a free night. Um, you know, the two ladies that live with me weren't here, so I was on my own. So I sit down in front of the TV, which is unusual. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a Chris night. I made my dinner. I'm just sitting down, just turn on the TV, and then I see these two guys walking up to the front door, and I'm like,
Oh,
no, no, no. I'm like, no, I just sat down to eat my dinner, right? And I live in this big old place, and I'm like, I hear the knock, 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 and I'm like, I'm not going. I don't want to be.
it's your
I don't.
door. You don't
I'm not
have
trying to
to.
be mean, but I'm eating dinner, and so now I kind of lean over because there's a window right where I am, and the guy's there,
You
and
can
he
see
can
it.
see me, and I'm like, look, man, I'm eating. I do the eating symbol. I said, I'm not. I'm like, no. I give him the X. I wave off. I'm
Right.
like, no, no. It's a weird thing, but yeah, like people come into your door these days. There's just like you just don't know. It's like you don't necessarily trust, and there's a lot of scamming, and there's a lot of shit that happens these days, and it's unfortunate um, because
And it's
there's
like
people ripping people off.
my son said, if there's something you want done for the house, chances are you'll go find somebody. You don't need to be brought to your
Yeah,
door. And I
yeah,
also I brought that story up for a reason. Um,
hmm,
we're doing this week. We're talking about manners and morals. But
yeah,
I said to my wife, because we talk about being rude to these people, but I'm saying, no, we're not being rude. They're being rude.
a little bit. I
I was
mean,
being polite at first, but when
yeah,
you keep coming back over and over after I've told you I don't want to talk to you, I'm sorry I'm not coming to the door, but I told you already. I It's like we had a Rogers girl here one day, and I remember she was down there talking to my wife, wouldn't leave her alone, and my wife's so polite she won't say no. And I'm literally hollering down, I need you right now. It's an emergency. Come on, I need you. And my wife's, oh, my husband needs me. And the girl's just like, oh, blah, blah, yeah, but it's like
yeah,
fun. She had to shut the
yeah.
door in her face, like
It is, and
my door.
there is definitely there you could tie in both here a little bit. I'm respectful of other people's
Me
time and
too.
they should be respectful of mine as well, of course. So, manners, okay, I didn't go to the door. Yeah, 9 times out of 10, I probably would. I don't really care. But it's like, okay, thanks, not interested. But it's this kind of like they just keep pushing and you're just like, listen, I said I'm not interested. We all get calls, telemarketers, all these things. Like it's relentless, and it's just like just respect other people's boundaries and that's it's just part of it, it's a great tie into the morals because there's room for like okay, you're trying to sell your stuff. I get it, but when I say no, it's a no.
Yeah, and especially at my door. I didn't come out looking for anything. I'm at home. I'm trying to live my life.
Yeah,
You came to my door. I was polite enough to answer. I let you in my house because you were cold, but
mm, yeah,
and
yeah.
and it's just like I don't know if I I know it's just a small podcast. I won't say the name of the company, but they provide a satellite radio service.
Okay.
Try telling them you don't want to be a customer anymore.
Oh
Good
man,
luck.
impossible.
I was talking to a kid from Egypt, and I mean, I told him I don't have the car anymore. Don't
Yeah,
have the car anymore.
right.
He still was like, okay, but. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you? I said to him, what are you possibly going to say to me at this point?
I had the same thing. I got it with my truck when I bought it. And, after a couple of years it expired and they kept sending me. I'm like, I'm not into this. I've never even bought it to start with.
I'm telling you,
Oh
I
yeah.
could not get the guy to. He would not. I feel for these young people. They're trying to make a living, and I'm sure they're mandated to not. You can't let that.
hmm
Sometimes you got to take the loss. I do. I get no all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those, yeah, just kind of like do the right thing here. We're not, I appreciate what you're doing out there, but I don't want it. So make it end.
And I've given you years of business, years of money. I've
Yeah.
been good to you.
Yeah.
And
No.
now it's like I'm in the constant battle between Rogers and Bell and who wants my cable service. And it's like it's whoever I have, the other one's nonstop. They never stop. They call twice a day. They come to the door. Anyway, what's the
Listen,
definition of manners and morals?
I'll give you, so we'll start with morals. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
There's two. There's two. So one is a lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent that can be derived from a story, a piece of information, or an experience.
Okay. Like a
So
morale. The
the
moral,
example, yeah,
moral of
the
this.
moral of this story was that one must see the beauty in what one has.
Right.
And that's the first. And then the second is a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and what is not acceptable for them to do.
Okay.
That's kind of the more,
And I
the more.
suppose morality is based on what you consider to be moral. I guess we all have different
Absolutely.
levels of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's morals. And then manners, a way in which a thing is done or happens. That's like the manner of something, right? And then
Right. Right.
manners also the one is a person's outward bearing or way of behaving toward others.
Right.
Right. So they kind of they obviously tie in. You had mentioned manners a few weeks ago. That's why we were kind of on that one, and I just thought that morals kind of ties into manners in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the polite thing would have been to do it when I mentioned it, but
yeah, that would
you
have
don't
been
have very
polite.
good manners.
That would have been polite. Yeah, because it goes on to say ways of behaving toward people, especially ways that are socially correct and show respect for their comfort and their feelings.
Right.
Yeah.
So the moral is that I keep putting up with this. So what the hell?
Yeah, it's true. But I do, I respect your feelings, but sometimes we have to go back and forth. We have to go back and forth. Plus, sometimes we just go with the flow. You know that as well as I do. So,
Being an asshole.
I know.
Uh, um, yeah, so it's funny. I don't know if this is directly a manner, but
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned to my wife a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking about manners and morals, and she brought this thing up about people she works with. She has a lot of young people that work for her,
Yeah,
and this is more of a, I guess I don't know if it's manners, but she says like kids are so busy writing slang and talking slang, and but they don't even know the proper words for things anymore. Like they put the
right.
K or adjust or and they said like so bad that like they try to punch in. They can't even read the reports. These girls handwrite the reports of it. She can't even understand what they're talking about anymore. And they don't even put the right
Mm,
words down anymore.
right,
Like there's
right.
we're losing something when I'm a big believer in English, the proper speaking proper English, or your
Yeah,
language,
yeah,
whatever it is,
yeah,
proper, and
yeah,
writing it. And I
yeah,
don't think we should have ever stopped teaching kids how to write cursive. Um,
yeah.
like I know everyone types nowadays, but I still think it's important that we can still print our names and write our names.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I think certainly writing properly and using proper verbiage, proper etiquette in that way is important. Yeah, because everything's sort of getting shortened and everything. That's and there is something. Um, yeah, there is something a little bit more, I think, formalized about like just understanding how to write and how to,
Yes.
how to dictate or give information. Just as there is, in that it is like just saying thank you in a text or in an email or
Right.
please or to whom it may concern. Just kind of like a certain type of etiquette to that
And I
for
think
sure.
it's a slippery slope. I think that's where it ties into manners. Like when we stop saying thank you in emails, or stop writing emails out so they're polite and proper, and
Yeah.
and we stop writing notes the right way, it can lead to our work and our and how we treat people. And like, I don't think you should take people's feelings for granted. And
Yeah.
that's even in little things. And
I'll
that's
give you,
polite,
yeah, yeah. And I'm actually, this is good because I kind of interrupted you there.
which is rude.
It is. And I think that is certainly, I think there's a lot more of that these days. Taking the patience to just wait till somebody's done instead of interrupting them. Sometimes you get a thought and you're just like, you just want to launch into it. And that I think is part of society these days. Everyone, like we're all in a hurry. Everything's fucking like
Yes.
it's going a mile a minute, right? But even, we're talking about language and verbiage and how we speak to people. Like I had a situation not that long ago. I was with another individual, and an older gentleman came to speak with us. Neither of us knew him, and I said, "Oh, hello, sir. Very nice to meet you." It's just like someone's older than me. You won't. I always refer to them as sir. The person that was with me, he's like, "Hey, man." And I was just like, ooh,
Oh,
wow, no, no, it's just like, no, it's not, you don't, hey man, an old guy. Like you
I
don't.
agree. He's not a hey man.
And again, nothing against that individual. If he wasn't taught that by somebody, or maybe it's even a slip. Like maybe it was just like he just kind of got caught off guard and it was a hey man. But yeah, for me, it's a sir all the way. Um, even they don't even have to be a lot older than me. I just think sir is it's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not gonna lie, I struggle a little bit. Sir for a man, it's an easy one. The whole madam and stuff, there's a little bit of a gray area weirdness there, but
And some women don't want to be called ma'am. They think it's
no, ma'am is really, it's outdated. I don't know. There's something about it. But I think just the point of what we're getting at is just greeting people in a polite, like,
yes.
it's a good morning. It's not just like, you don't have to shorten everything, I guess. It's not like, hey, it's like, hello,
No, even when
hello,
someone
so,
holds the
so.
door for me, I say thank you, sir. I
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
my standard response is thank you, sir. Even if they're
yeah,
not older than me, I say thank you, sir.
yeah,
And we talked about this in another podcast, I know, but it's amazing how holding the door and being polite and saying thank you. And I notice it. I hate when I hold the door for someone and they breeze right through it and don't say thanks. It
yeah.
drives me crazy. I didn't do it for that reason,
I
but
know. No,
but
you said that
but
before.
you can't grunt thank you.
I don't bother worrying about that one,
And
but
I don't like when people walk in ahead of me and like almost slide through the door to not hold it for me. Like, dude, like,
I know. But
like,
that my thought on that is you let that go.
well, I don't
I'm
dwell
good.
on it for weeks or
I
anything, but
know you
I
don't. I know
notice it.
you don't. But I'm giving or doing for the sake of doing, not for the sake of receiving. And I know you are too. I know you're like that. So for me
I
that's a
just
let go.
notice it. I guess I just notice it. It
But
does.
there are others, and I think what the great we've touched on this one, of course, on the chivalrous episode because this is there is some chivalry in this some of this stuff. Like some examples that of course I was thinking about was like offering a seat to someone, like you're on the bus, you're sitting, you know, a woman or an older person or whatever. You choose. It doesn't even matter. It could be a kid. I don't know. It could, if you want to offer your chair. I think that's a great one, right? That's a
Absolutely.
lot like opening the door. Um, even pulling out a chair for someone. They
Yes.
some of these things feel a little, they feel a little archaic, but to me, they're they're good manners. There's nothing wrong with them.
Well,
Some people
you watch the old movies, and it used to be like, especially if it was soldiers or even the mobsters or something. If you're at a table with women, and if a woman stands up, the men stand up.
absolutely, and I
Like,
don't think it's
woof.
for me. To me, there's nothing wrong with that either. That's
Me neither.
respectful. I think it's respectful.
I
Uh,
don't do it. I wish I did, but I'd like to do it. I think it's cool when people do it.
I think it's great. And the
What I,
one
but wearing a hat at a table, that drives me crazy.
that is not okay. That is not an
Eating dinner with
acceptable
a hat
behavior.
on?
That is
Oh,
not good.
no,
No,
not good.
no,
Not
no,
good.
not allowed. In the manners
Not
book,
in the chivalrous guy's world. You
in the
don't wear a hat.
chivalrous book of manners, you are not wearing your hat. Um, the one that I had to laugh about though, as I thought about coming up to this episode, was putting your coat down over a puddle. That is like
Never
you
done
are
it.
going above and beyond. I have never done
No, no.
that.
But men used to do it
I did.
for sure. For
And
sure. Well,
certainly, at
speaking
least
of
in
puddles, though,
movies,
I
at least
still do it. I did it this week. We've gotten a lot of just light snow every day, so there's a lot of slush and wet. And when I'm driving along and I see someone walking, I slow down or I go around them to make sure I don't splash them. You
oh,
know,
me too.
but
Absolutely.
but people don't. People just drive right by them and just, you see people getting just sort of splattered or and it's like, or if I see someone walking their dog or their kid and like the streets are, the sidewalks aren't plowed or whatever, I do my best to make sure that I give them lots of space. I don't make them feel like I'm going to run, like I don't,
We,
you just give people a little space.
we've talked about this one too. That and this is like when somebody like lets you in on the highway and you give them the wave, right?
Yep.
Like you give the wave. Sometimes you don't get the wave. You should give the wave. But you know what I think when I hear us talking about this, I think the one thing that I really feel is important to kind of touch on here is you have to be attentive in order to do these things.
Yes,
If you're lost in your own head, you are not doing a lot of these things,
you're absolutely right.
right? You're not noticing the things that people are doing to be polite and have good manners. Because if someone holds the door for you and you're like late for a meeting and you're fucking you don't even notice it. You're just so wrapped up. And that's I think that's one of the important things to notice here because we have become such a fast-paced society. Everything is fast, everything's instant, everything's instant gratification that we don't notice these little things. We don't take the time to see what other people are doing around us and how we're interacting with people. Like I think one of the things that I do a lot, like if I'm like at the grocery store and I turn around and maybe there's somebody there and I almost like, oh, I'm not, I do the excuse me. Oh,
Me
excuse
too.
me. Like,
Do.
even if it's kind of like it's close, but it's not like I'm not going to run into them. I still say excuse me,
Me too.
just because I'm not trying to interrupt or I'm not trying to cut anybody. Like it's just like that's your space, my space. We're all like in our spaces, but I say excuse me a lot.
If I'm
I say
walking down the aisle at Shoppers Drug Mart and there's someone looking at shampoo, but I
yeah,
have to walk
I got to
between
go in
people,
front. Yeah,
I say,
yeah,
"Oh, excuse me."
yes, I do too. I might even like go under,
Absolutely.
right?
Because I feel like I just interrupted what you were doing.
I cut into your eye line and I'm like, if I can go around the back, I'll go around the back. But sometimes it's a little close. Now you're like, oh, I don't want to like touch that. It's like you get it. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Do you mind if I
And you
step by
notice
you?
when people say stuff to you. It's like I was at the grocery store a couple weeks
Hmm.
ago, and I only
Hmm.
had two items in my hand. I went to the quick lane, but
Hmm.
the person ahead of me probably had 20 items. It was an
Hmm.
older lady, and she said, "Oh, you only got two items." I said, "Yes." She goes, "No, you go first. You go first."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Really?" She goes, I said, "You sure?" She goes, "Yeah, you go first." I said, "Oh, well, thanks. I appreciated that." And
I
I
love
went
that.
first. I didn't mind doing it because I could tell it made her feel good to let me go ahead of her. And
Frankly, it speeds up the process a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
I
there's
don't
other
think she was in
people.
any hurry. I think she wanted, she's
And I think that this is a really important aspect to this. I think that when you slow down, you can notice these things. And like I think slowing down in life is important. Like you need to like slow down and take a moment just because you're in the grocery store and maybe yeah, just take a breather and just let things go the way they need to go, right? It's like, I think there's something good about that. Yeah, I had a similar occasion, this instance lately. This lady needed something on the top shelf. She was shorter than me. I happened to walk by and she's like, "Oh, you're tall. Can you reach that thing for me?" And it was like the simplest little thing, but she was happy and I felt good. It was like,
Absolutely.
it's just like such an
Feel like
easy little
hugging me
thing. I was
almost.
like,
It happened to me yesterday. I was with there was some short ass woman saying, "Could you take this?" Oh no, it was my wife. I'm sorry, that doesn't count.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure you're using the appropriate language here, Sean. Yeah, I mean, other stuff is like, I think as Canadians, we're really good at it and we're kind of known for it. But saying sorry when something's happened, saying sorry, that's obviously good manners.
What do you ever say sorry to someone? And I'll have people do this to me because I
Yeah,
say sorry a lot. They'll say,
yeah,
"Well, why are you sorry? You didn't do it." And
yeah,
no, 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 no. I didn't. I'm not saying I did it. I'm
yeah.
saying I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry this is going on. I don't mean I'm sorry I did it. I mean I'm
Sure.
sorry. I'm just sorry for you. I feel
Then
bad that
just then I would say just explain that. Yeah,
I just
yeah, I know what you mean. Of course I do.
there's also people that are too polite, and I use this example specifically for four-way stops. When
Yes,
you pull up
the
and they're
overwave. Yeah,
go, and I'm
yeah,
like, no, no, and I wave first. I go, and they're like, no, you go, and I'm like,
yeah.
well, no,
No,
I already told you to go. You were here
no,
first, and they're like, go, 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 go.
no, no,
It's like, so
no.
just
There,
go.
in all this, you still have to have proper etiquette. You need to know the rules of the road. We went to the mall today, right? And like I'm driving along the front of the mall. Well, there's crosswalks, right?
Mhm.
Like, but they're like 60 whatever yards apart. Like, so that but people they don't go to the crosswalk. They
Nope.
go right in the middle of the road, and then they expect you to stop. And I'm like, you do realize that's not the place to cross. Like, I could just run you over right now, and it wouldn't really be my fault.
Right. It's almost polite to run them over.
You got to follow the rules. We were in the city last night too, and we're going down a one-way street, and there's a guy on a bike coming right towards me on the road.
Nope.
And
It's
I
wrong.
said, my partner was like, no, he has the right of way. He's on a bike.
No, he
I'm like,
doesn't.
no, he does not. He follows the rules of the road as a car. He,
Right.
he should be on the sidewalk, like
Bike goes the
so.
same direction as a car. You walk against traffic. You bike with traffic.
100%, 100%.
Absolutely.
So
But pe- and but people are getting so bad, and this is where it also is dangerous.
yeah,
Is people texting and driving. People
yeah,
in this city, the
yeah,
last thing on their mind when they're behind the wheel of a car is driving. I
yeah. And
couldn't tell
that's nuts. That's nuts.
every stoplight, the car in front of you doesn't go because they're
Yeah,
looking down. No, 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 they're not
yeah,
paying
yeah,
attention.
yeah. I mean, I remember even when, my stepson started driving, I'm like, when you get into a car, you need, like, your sole focus is driving the car now. Like, you do not worry about your phone. You do not think about your phone. Anytime you get in a car, if you're not attentive, you can have a crash and you can die. It's not complicated. You got to focus.
It's a
I've
loaded
been
weapon.
you and I drove for a living for years. I've been in on the highway. There was a guy with his computer on his lap watching a movie. Like, I'm like, what on God are you doing?
But
Now, we were in bumper to bumper traffic, but I had to, like, that day. I wound down my window. I'm waving at him like this, and I said, look, man, like, you want to watch a movie in your car? Like, if you're on your own, I don't care. But like, if you want to kill yourself, go ahead. But you are risking everyone around you. Like, you can't wait till you get home. Like, what are you
absolutely.
like? That's just, yeah,
And the moment you take your eye off the road is when somebody in front of you brakes or
yeah,
something walks out in front of you. It's nonstop. I can look down at the radio and look up, and the guy that I've been
one
following
second.
for an
Yeah,
hour all of a sudden is braking.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had a conversation about deer. I mean, I looked down, glanced down at my radio when I was out visiting you, and next thing I like literally 2 seconds, and I got a deer 2 feet from the front of my car. I mean, that's so yeah,
Absolutely. And everybody
texting and
knows me,
driving.
knows I had a bad accident running into a deer. And I mean,
Yeah.
but I didn't even look down. The deer came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
the deer was being rude that day.
yeah, for
But he
sure.
died, so I guess he paid for it.
There's a couple weird ones that I remember. My dad again, like, I get for me, of course, it wasn't just my dad; it was my mom too. But our parents teach us manners, right? My dad he was really big on, when you shake somebody's hand, you look them in the eye,
Yep.
right?
Nice,
That was
nice
that was
firm
the
grip.
That was a big one. Look them in the eye. You don't look down. And um, I think there is kind of like there's a certain confidence in that. Like and I think again, I think with phones, there's a lot of distraction, and people are looking down a lot. Like it's like a thing, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
and the handshake thing is you don't if you don't I don't mean crush someone's hand, which is also rude because
yeah,
I've had people do that to me.
no,
But
no,
if you
that's
don't think a nice handshake makes a difference, have someone, and I know specifically I know a couple people, one's really specifically, they just lay their hand in your hand. They just go, eh.
yeah, I
Like
know.
it's
This
like
is the tricky one. You could all,
like a
yeah.
wet noodle. Like, oh, thanks. Thanks for giving me your hand. Like, I'm not
You could do
proposing.
like a Seinfeld episode on handshakes. It's a
Oh,
tricky one. Like the last thing you want is a damp hand, and there's all kinds of weird
it's
stuff.
so bad that I remember one guy specifically he was an ex RCMP officer. He was in our business and he would crush your hand.
Oh yeah, no good. That's no
The
good.
guy I work with today, to this day, I know who just hands you this wet noodle of a hand, and you're just like,
Oh, it's too bad. It's too
but
bad.
but then if we're going to talk about texting and driving, texting, period.
Yeah.
I hate when I'm out to dinner with somebody or visiting
Terrible.
somebody,
No,
including my own children, and you're having a conversation and they're just tick, 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 tick.
oh no, no,
I
no, no, no.
remember years ago, I was out with one of my sons and he had stuff on his mind, but I took him out to lunch. We made a specific lunch date because I hadn't seen him for a while. And halfway through, I was just like, are we gonna like what are we here
No,
for? You know?
no, no, no.
And
I
I've
never.
done this thing now, and you have kind of shown me this just too, is if I'm talking to you and you start texting, I stop talking.
Yeah, me too. I
Just stop
100%.
talking.
Because I
Like
know you're not
that
paying
might be better
attention to me.
for
I'm
you.
just
Just
wasting my
stop
breath.
talking. And I'll do this thing where I start talking nonsense just to see if people are paying attention to anything
Me
I'm saying.
too. Me too. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
you're talking about something normal and they start and you say, "Oh yeah," and then that elephant flew in the room. Oh my gosh, man, he
Yeah.
stepped on, and then they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Shark bit my head off, and
Oh yeah,"
yeah, and yeah,
just not listening, and it's awful, but it's rude. Even like I can't. I did. I almost stopped going to concerts because I can't stand when I'm at a concert and everybody around me and in front of me are so busy filming the concert, they're not even listening to the concert.
yeah.
You're
I
not
know.
getting be in the now.
I
If
know.
you're
I know.
watching I don't know, John Bon Jovi, and he's playing his heart out, and it's an awesome experience. And
I
you're
know.
so busy filming it,
I know.
distracted by your phone. And all I can
Me
think
too.
of is
Yeah.
you are never going to watch that video. There's
Hmm.
millions of videos of John Bon Jovi if you want to go watch a video of him, but you're here, you're living this
I know. Yeah.
moment. It drives
Yeah. I know. I
me
know. I
crazy.
mean, I get it. I mean, people want to preserve the moment on their phone. I do. I do sort of understand, but it is very distracting. I don't. I mean, I will. I'm not saying that I haven't done it. Like, I will take a quick like whatever. Oh,
Sure,
this is a great
30
song.
seconds.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, yeah.
But but we're generationally before we were 25 or so, there weren't phones, so
No.
we existed without them. So it's a much different thing for us, for sure,
Well, you
no
see
question
people at
about it.
concerts, like all these Taylor Swift concerts now, and you see people in the audience, they're dancing with their phone like this.
The whole time, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, what are you doing? You
yeah, yeah,
$3,000 for that ticket, and
yeah,
you can go on Disney Plus and watch her whole concert. Like you don't
yeah,
have to have it on your phone. I
yeah. No, I mean there's no doubt that phones have changed manners immensely. And yeah, we
even
never
in
did.
restaurants,
No
people
phones at the tables. Like, no, we never did that.
you
Yeah,
sit
and
in a restaurant where someone's sitting at the table beside you and they're on their phone, like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what
yeah,
you shut?
yeah. Go to parties though, where like you have to put your phone in a bowl before you get there.
I'm
I
sorry.
think that those are really good practices.
I do too. I think it's a good way to go.
I think it ties into the eye contact thing. Even we mentioned it with shaking hands, but like even just when you're having a conversation with somebody, just making eye contact with them, like it's easy. Even if you don't have your phone, it's easy to just like if you're not making eye contact, to just like lose track of what they're saying. Like if you just like I don't know. So we're talking.
It
We're
happens.
talking. All of a sudden, I look out the window and see a squirrel, and you're talking. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Oh, but it is easily an opportunity to say sorry. Just kind of got distracted by that squirrel.
It was a pretty squirrel.
It was a really beautiful
But,
squirrel.
but you're right, distractions, but you are 100% right. I hate when I'm talking to somebody and it makes me feel like a doddering old man when I'm talking and all
Mm,
of a sudden the younger person I'm talking to just
mm,
starts talking to their spouse or talking to and just it's like, do you even
yeah,
know that I'm talking? Is what
yeah,
I'm saying so boring that it's just like it's just not even, and I've actually stopped talking before I told you. And sometimes
that's not
people
good.
never ask you to go back to it. You're like, holy cow, they really did not care what I was saying. They don't even go
That's
back
not
and
great.
say, what were you doing? But
No,
I also get a little bit passive aggressive because I'll stop talking because people are doing that to me. And then they start, well, what were you saying? I'm like, no, it's okay. It's not important. Oh, come on. I'm like,
I'm,
no,
I'm
no,
good.
no,
No, yeah,
no. If you wanted to know what I was saying, you would have listened to me. And let me
yeah,
make a little caveat here. I
yeah.
know I'm not for one moment trying to say that I'm perfect at all this stuff.
No, of course you're not.
I'm
No,
sure I
no,
do the
no,
same things I'm talking about, but I notice it. I'm trying.
no.
I have considered myself a polite person. I was a polite student. I think
Hmm.
I'm a polite coworker.
Hmm.
Um, I think I made a good reputation in my world because I was polite. I do call some of my older customers sir. Um,
Hmm. Yeah,
Especially in emails, I'll say thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You know, it's
yeah.
like
I
it's
think, yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think. Look, we're all human. We're all making mistakes. I think that the critical things that we're talking about here in general are the kind of like using the please and thank yous, listening attentively, making eye contact. You know, good. Well, I mean, we didn't really talk about manner like at the table. We were talking about eating, but of course, table manners like that was like, oh my God. With three stepsons, there were times where you were just like, we had to give up some nights. We would say like Friday night was manners night because some night like you'd sit down like we talk about table etiquette. That's a whole like that's a half a book just talking about table etiquette. Like
I don't put my elbows on the table when I eat.
use your fork and knife, don't eat, don't talk with your mouth full. Wait for everybody before they sit, before you start
Absolutely.
eating, all this stuff. But like sometimes you get home, it's like whatever, it's weeknight, everybody's starving, like people just like fucking shoveling food
Oh yeah.
in.
Oh yeah.
We would just be like, oh God, like, but you
Well, we
know,
used to always say grace, right? So you didn't start eating till grace was said. But, we didn't put our elbows on the table and we
no,
tried to, and just being together at dinner was part of manners. Like that was
it was for
and
us
that's
too.
something that my wife and I have gotten away from. We eat our dinners together, but most of
Yeah,
them are our TV trays. We watch TV while we're eating.
yeah,
That's probably
yeah.
pathetic. It's just what we do.
No, whatever,
What it is.
whatever. I like having a good TV dinner, dinner in front of the TV anyway. Once in a
Yeah.
while, it's like a treat. It's like it's a nice thing. I love sitting at the table too. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, it depends. Like last night we had my son and his wife over. We had a beautiful ham dinner. Me and my wife made scallop potatoes for the first time. We'd never done homemade. It came out excellent. Um,
good.
but we sat at the table and I enjoyed myself.
Yeah,
Now, people would probably talk about manners, but I pulled up a fifth chair so my little granddoggy could sit beside me.
yeah,
And
yeah,
she hangs out with me when there's a ham around because she knows I'll give her some. But
right, right.
that's more of love than not bad manners.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's a, I think I think it would be a bad world if manners went away. I think there
yeah.
are important. Maybe not every table etiquette matters. Maybe if you used a salad fork for your steak, the world's probably not going to end.
No, we'll be all right. We'll be all
But
right
some
with that.
politeness, I think some general politeness, I think that goes a long way. And I do like that, we always waited. And if
Yeah.
someone, say my mom or the cook would say, "Listen, don't wait for me. Your food's getting cold."
Yeah.
Maybe you can eat it then. But even then, I know
Even
sometimes
then, I would have
they'll
to
just be
wait.
like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm waiting until you're sitting. If you don't
Especially if
want
she
my food to
cooks.
get cold, then sit."
There's one rule. There's one rule that I don't mind using now and then, and it's kind of like um, you know, the break of that rule, and it's more than eight, don't wait. So
Oh,
if there's
right.
more than eight people, especially if everybody has to get their own plate, like
Yeah.
you got 12 people, it gets a little tricky, right? So the more than eight, don't wait. That's kind of a thing. But
Well, Shonda's mother never had a hot meal ever because she'd have 25 people and
oh my gosh,
but she
wow,
care. She didn't want, it wasn't about her. That meal was not about her eating. That meal is about having her whole family there. You couldn't get the
Yeah.
smile off her face.
Yeah.
She just wanted you to be happy, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's
Oh,
interesting. It's
yeah.
interesting. So before we get to, I know you and I
Yeah.
would,
Yeah. No, there's just before we go, because you're
I
gonna train.
want to talk about morality too. So we can
Yeah,
start.
me too. There's just two. There was a couple that I kind of thought about, and these are I don't know how I don't know. They're things that I was thinking about where complimenting people. That was one, and gratitude for gifts and things. So like, I think back in the like certainly more for me in the past than I do it now, and I shouldn't give it up. We used to always have to write letters like after Christmas, like to your grandmother and stuff. Like
Yes. Yes.
I think that's huge, and I think that it is still somewhat prevalent in business and various other things. But I think there's something really great about you know um, saying thank you when people give you something, whether it's an email, a text, or something. I think
Absolutely.
that was that's a good one.
I
Um,
like being thanked, so I know they like it's a good feeling. And I like um I'm so much if you give me a gift,
hmm
Chris, I don't care if I have four of them already, and I don't care if I don't like it.
hmm
You're nothing in my mouth but thank you. I love it. It's perfect. I love it. I love it. Now,
Yeah.
I know people that will be like, oh shit, I got this already, or oh,
Well,
I'll
that's not
wear
that's
that, or
why.
I'll
No,
never do
no.
it.
This is one of those you fake it, even if it's not like. Yeah, I think you're right. 100%, you fake
Right.
it.
But I know people that don't. My mom, God, everyone knows how much I miss and love my mom, but my mom was not good at taking gifts that she didn't like. If you didn't like it, you knew she didn't like it, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and and especially if they were from my dad, and there might have been other things in addition, but I remember her getting stuff, and I know my dad took some time and money, and she would just be like, like
right.
it's not a
Yeah,
good feeling.
yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna
not.
like it no matter what. And
Yeah. And then the last one was just complimenting people. I think that's. I don't know whether that's become trickier or any.
it has become trickier.
A little bit, but I don't know. You've said it on a couple of other podcasts, but I think it just can really make somebody's day. Like,
I told you at Christmas I complimented that guy's shirt. Oh
absolutely.
my
And I
gosh,
think,
he was happy. He
you
was.
know, that one, that one could. I don't see how it could blow up in your face. I just feel like if you say something to somebody and it comes from your heart and it's honest and it's like, I think you look great today.
I love it. I
I
love it.
love
Even
that.
from my
Love that.
wife, who I've been with 35 years. If I get up one day, she goes, "Man, your hair looks great today." It makes me feel good all day. I
Huge.
I love it. But
Just a tiny little thing.
sometimes I'll go to the effort and I think, okay, I'm not today, it's Sunday, but sometimes
Yeah.
I'll think, hey, I'm looking at today, and she doesn't even notice, and I'm like, oh, I thought I
Yeah.
looked pretty good, But that's not against her. She's got
No.
lots on her mind.
Yeah.
Now, I tell her she's beautiful every day, but I guess that's just the way it's supposed to be. But it's because I think it. I actually believe it.
Well, okay. Well, there's the tie in. There's
Morality,
the tie in.
morality.
There's the tie into morals. Morals, right? Morals.
Right.
I mean,
I'll handle this one. You have none, so I'll take it.
there's some that look here. Here's a short list of what I have for morals because I think they make sense, and a lot of them are nice chivalrous things: honesty, kindness, fairness, responsibility, respect, courage, justice, loyalty. You talk about loyalty. These are all more. I think these are like top 10
Yeah,
morals,
they are. I
right?
I think I do most of those. You lost me a little bit on responsibility and courage. I'm a bit of a chicken shit.
Yeah, but courage in what? Like courage. You can be courageous. It's just like there are moments where you may have to be more courageous, like where you really have to stand up for something. And
It
I think that
depends on the situation too. I'm very good at public speaking. Most people are scared to death of public speaking. It doesn't even cross my
yeah,
mind.
you have the courage to do that for
Yeah.
sure. I think I think courageousness a lot of times in today's society is like taking a moral stance on what you believe is right, right?
Yes.
So, there's a lot of we talked about division. There's a lot of division in the U.S. right now with the president. And for some people, like taking the courage to say, I don't really think Trump's a really great guy. That does take some courage. You're going to get people are going to defend him against
Yep.
your thought. But so taking taking a stance in the world does involve some courageousness for sure, because there will be backlash.
Yeah,
Taking
but there's that old song, you have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything, right? Because
yeah,
you do have to take a stance, but you're right. It can take a lot of courage to do it because
yeah,
you're scared the person you're talking to is going to shoot you down. They're not going to
yeah,
feel the same way you feel.
yeah,
You think you might lose a friend, you might lose a customer. Like,
yeah.
in the business world, I'm not going to get into a major fight with one of my customers over whether Trump's right or wrong.
No, there's a time and a place.
The time
No,
and
there's a
place.
time and a place.
But I won't
100%.
even with a friend. I'm not going to fight. If you tell me today you like Trump, I'm going to like, oh my God, I can't believe Chris likes Trump. But I'm not
Yeah,
going to get into a big scrap with you. I'll probably just say I'd rather not talk about it because
absolutely.
but
Good.
I don't really want, I can't think of too many people I will get into a big fight about it with. But you also, though, you're not going to make me say I like Donald Trump. I do
No,
not like Donald Trump.
I
I'm
don't either.
sorry. I do not like him.
I don't either.
I don't like anybody that
No.
treats veterans and trans people and gay people and women and immigrants the way he treats them. I'm
No,
sorry. I don't care how good your budget is or how
I
good your
do not.
whatever is. You're
No,
not a good person.
I do
You're
not
not.
respect. I do not respect that in any way. So
No,
that, so yeah, courage. There's an opportunity for courage. There's also an opportunity there for honesty, right? And just being transparent in your words and in your actions. I mean, you mentioned it at the beginning. I haven't been perfect at that one. There's no doubt about it. When I was like in addiction and stuff, I was not honest. I first of all wasn't honest
absolutely.
with
I mean,
myself, and I certainly was not honest. I will be the first one to admit that. And that's a tough one. And I also we talked about it on a previous podcast where, there were a couple of instances when I was younger where it was like, no, no, just lie about that. That's okay. You can lie about that. And so I think we all have, I mean, I don't know how many people could put their hand up and say they've never lied.
I think
Um,
they'd be lying.
the reality is, we all know you're going to feel better once you get rid of those things, and once you clear them up and admit that you did, and tell the truth about it, even if it fucking sucks and you have to pay a huge big penalty. Some of these, like, we know that these morals, if you don't abide by them, they eat at you.
They do.
There's there's no two ways that they do not, right?
When I'm in active addiction and I'm lying to
Yeah,
myself and everybody else, and then the lies they start compounding, and you forgot the lies you've told, and you
100%.
say something, they go, "Oh, what do you mean that? You told me you did that day," and I went, "Oh, right," and then you lie
Yeah.
again, and then it's
Oh
just,
my God.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
It's sickening, right?
and
And
everybody knows you're lying, but you
100%.
you
Yeah.
just all
Yeah.
keep up the facade that I'm not lying.
It,
It's a very
it
strange thing.
just tears apart your own integrity, right? So,
But I
like,
had people when I was an active opiate addict. I'll discuss that one specifically. I
yeah,
had people, a customer, I won't say his name, but he had the courage to sit me down and say something to me. And I
yeah,
got upset. I
yeah.
wasn't mad, but I started crying and it was awkward, it was uncomfortable. And I thought about it later, it couldn't have been easy for him. I'm sure he did not
God,
want
no,
to have that conversation with me.
no,
I'm not
no.
his child, I'm not his responsibility.
Yeah,
He
no,
sat me down and he said, "Sean, you are not doing a good job. You're showing up here unprepared. You're
mm,
canceling appointments. You're not doing a you
yeah,
don't remember things. You don't seem like you're yourself. You seem a little disheveled. Like what is
yeah,
going on? We think there's something wrong." And I started crying and excused myself and I came back and I told him the truth.
yeah.
And it
Good
was
for you.
actually it was the beginning of me getting better. Uh,
And the last one that I mentioned on the list was integrity, right? And the definition of integrity is acting in alignment with one's values, even when no one is watching.
yes,
That's
that's a big one.
that's huge,
Say
man.
what you will do when no one's watching. That's integrity. You're absolutely right. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, and that's again, well, we've talked a lot about AA, but one of the mottos of AA is to thine own self be true.
right? And that ties in with loyalty. You know, like
100%.
Do I cheat on my wife because I know 100% in this instant I can never get caught? No.
Yeah.
No, because I'm loyal to her. She trusts me. And it's like you that's the key to it. I'll take a bit of a soapbox here, but I've been married for 35 years and we've had moments with addiction and stuff like that, but the key to it is to trust each other. We have to trust that I traveled a lot, she was home a lot, we were alone a lot, weren't with each other a lot.
Yeah.
We had to trust each other. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was
And well, I mean, when you go back to like when you go back to the list of morals, when you are honest, when I get over time, trust you develop trust. There's no, I mean, it's obviously tricky when you lie to get past that, right? And
and
uh,
trust takes forever to get and can be lost instantly.
that's the thing. That's
Like,
that's the thing
like
about it,
you and
right?
I are
It really
friends.
is.
You could be honest with me for 10 years. And if you
Yeah,
lied to me once, I'd be like, oh, fuck, I don't know about this guy. He's lying to
yeah,
me. Is he
yeah.
always lying to me? Does he lie to me? Like, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
hard.
and even just little things, man. Like we had a little thing in the summer there. I mean, it wasn't even little. I said it.
You know,
We had a moment. We had a moment, and it took a little while to recover. And I needed to apologize. And that, we get. I just was out of alignment, right? And I was out of,
but
you
you were out
know,
of alignment. It wasn't all about me. You had other shit going on in your life,
yeah,
and
for
and
sure, for sure.
and I
That's
and I'm not perfect either, for God's
And
sake.
that goes, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of kind of, again, there's a lot of tie-ins between the morals and the manners. Like I knew that I had to get kind of past myself and apologize and like do the right things, say I was sorry,
You
and
did.
I think that's the only way that you can get past it, right?
Yeah.
Being
Well,
honest about it.
because I'll tell you, when someone says they're sorry, unless you're a monster, I don't care how mad I am at you. If you
Yeah.
really give me a heartfelt sorry,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have a hard time not accepting it
Yeah.
because I feel like a jerk if I didn't. Like, okay, well, that took a lot. Well, that's all I really want. It's just, I appreciate it, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
listen, if it becomes a pattern,
Of course.
then it's like, well, fuck off. Obviously this is not the thing. We're not necessarily the same reasons, but you can't, you can't judge anybody on their worst moment. Like
No.
I teach that in addiction. You can't judge anyone. You can't take anybody for their worst moment. You'd
Yeah.
never if that's the only thing you judge somebody on. I mean, there's extreme cases of forgiveness where you'll see somebody murders their child and they end up forgiving them. And then some of them they have them in their life.
Yeah.
Like they bring them into their life and they nurture that person. I'm like, holy cow, like who are you?
Hmm.
But I don't know if forgiveness is a virtue or not, but forgiveness goes, it holding a grudge
Hmm.
hurts no one but you.
Yeah. No question.
The
No
person
question.
you're holding it against most of the time doesn't even know you're holding it or care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Well,
strange.
yeah.
Forgiveness, I think, is a moral. I think being a forgiving person is a morality. Um, and forgiveness is huge, man. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, it is for sure. Absolutely. Obviously forgiveness, and then I mean, even then from that it's like, do you make a decision if something's happened in a relationship, whatever, then to just say, well, I forgive you, but maybe this isn't a relationship that we
Maybe
so
that could be the case.
repetitive pattern.
And you got to realize if it's important enough to you.
Yeah.
So even in the case of you and I, when you said you were sorry,
Hmm.
it was important for me to have you in my life. I wanted you in my life.
Yeah.
So I forgave and moved forward because I wanted you in my life. If I was at that point where I don't really want Chris in my life anyway, so fuck it. Sure, if you're sorry, big deal, move on. I
Yeah.
would have moved on.
Yeah.
You live a long way from me. It's not that hard for me to get you out of my life, but I'd want
Absolutely.
you in my life. And it's like anybody in your life, even your own family, your kids, whoever,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I've been, yeah.
When I was doing this, when I was doing the definitions and stuff, I put in. And again, I'm using it. I know you're using it, so I put it in, and it's helpful. Like honestly, like I put in give examples of a loss of morality.
Yep.
Oh my God, dude! Like when you like we were just talking about Trump, for example. Like listen to this list: dishonesty and deception, exploitation of others, corruption in leadership, intolerance and discrimination, betrayal of trust, violence or abuse, greed or selfishness, disregard environmental responsibility, ignoring the rights of others, indifference to suffering. Like it is just like
That's Trump's Wikipedia page.
it's nuts. And there's a lot of this in the world,
There is. Worse than
right?
ever, I think. It's unbelievable.
Ignoring the rights of others, indifference to suffering, like just
Like
turning a blind
Elon
eye.
Musk, he's doing some weird stuff right now. Like he did the Nazi salute a couple times, but then even on his Twitter and the stuff he's allowing on there, and he's kind of catering towards these like right wing, just terrible stuff. And I don't understand these people that think it's cool to be a Nazi because not only, of course, the Nazis were responsible for killing over 6 million Jewish people and others
Mhm,
and trying to destroy the world and take over the world. Do
mhm,
you want to go on the other side of it? They also lost the war pretty handedly.
mhm.
Like they were stomped to the ground. I'm like, so you think it's cool to be a loser? Like what Hitler didn't win. He killed himself in a bunker. Like
Yeah.
I don't get what any I can't think of one reason to think it's cool to be a Nazi. I can't think of one reason. Nothing. Nothing. Not even, it's awful. And I think the word gets thrown around too easy these days. Like people are like, "Oh, he's worse than Hitler." No, 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 no. No.
Well,
Trump's
I think
catching up, but
I think it's some sort of relevance to him feeling like he's superior to others based on what he looks like,
right. But he
right?
thought the Aryan race should be blonde and
I know,
blue-eyed, whereas
I
he
know,
wasn't either one of those things, which I
I
thought
know, I
made
know.
sense.
Yeah, but like when I read that list, it's like it's concerning, like the greed and selfishness, like this mass wealth, just a disregard for responsibility to others, the,
There's a lot of wealthy people that have blood on their hands in one way or the
the
other.
rights of
It's their
others.
blood, but sometimes it's just people they've stomped over to get where they are, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
When I read that original list, what are the examples of morals? I can't remember where we were, but we were at a party or something, and somebody said something to the effect of like, what is important to you, in life, like what is something that you strive for, and I said kindness, and it was like you're right, it was a business thing. It was like, and it really like I think it took a couple of people off guard. It was almost like I should have like said something about my business or
I feel like
you
I
know,
was there. I don't know why.
making $1 million or whatever. I don't know, but I think it's just I haven't always been kind. I'm not going to say that I have. I've made mistakes and I've done things at times that were selfish for sure. But I think, if we were all striving towards kindness or fairness or honesty, things would be a lot better.
Oh my goodness, you imagine?
Really.
Imagine if we all just got up and tried to be kind. All of us, all 10 billion of us just tried to be kind to each other. What a
Yeah.
great world this could be. And
Yeah. Just look past
there's
things.
enough, I've heard this the other day and I never realized this. They said there's enough resources in this world for everybody to eat everything
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
just spent our money
Yeah.
trying to feed people.
Yeah.
No, we have to build enough nuclear weapons to blow the world up 100 times, That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm watching this show right now. It kind of deals with morality. It's called Paradise.
Yeah.
And uh, it's really incredible, but it's like these super rich people build like this underground bunker to live in after there's like some, I don't even know what the event is yet, say it's a nuclear war or something. And I think that's great. So all these people with power blow up the world, and then these same powerful people get to hide out in these where the rest of us just get to die in the world they blew up. Like,
Right. What's it
what?
called? What's it called?
Paradise. Paradise.
Okay.
It's on Disney. It's friggin' it's only 3 episodes so far, and it's awesome.
Doesn't
It
seem like a stretch.
it's it's
Concerning.
it is. It really blew my mind. It's really cool. It's worth taking a I mean, I like to watch a lot of lighter shows nowadays because I get enough stress in the real life,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna end it on this when I was thinking about manners. I was doing online therapy with BetterHelp
Yeah.
and doing really good at it. but I had to give up my therapist because she started looking down all the time at her phone or emails or something.
Wow.
After having months of a great relationship, I just caught her just not paying attention to me. And that
Mm.
was not only manners, that's bad business. I'm
Yeah.
paying you.
Hmm.
And I had to give up on a relationship that I nurtured and developed, but I couldn't do it. And
Right.
so I got a different therapist because of BetterHelp, you can switch therapists at no cost. And I got this woman on, and I was doing good for about 10 minutes. And then I heard a baby cry, and she said, "Oh, hold on." She went over and picked up her like 8-month-old baby, and his head was in the screen, and she was talking and feeding him, and then walking to the fridge and bouncing him. And I'm like, is this okay? Like, I'm
Right.
paying you like $100 a session to talk to me about my problems, and you're bouncing your little baby up, feeding them and taking care of them. I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. I
Right.
got in trouble for vaping during a Zoom meeting, and you're like, this seems
Right.
way off. But
Right.
I was thinking about that too. Like when I used to go with my company on these Zoom meetings, I would vape during it. And my opinion was, well, I'm at my house in my room and I'm not hurting anybody. I'm vaping.
Hmm.
But you know what? I thought about it after, and they were right. They were right. They said if you were sitting at a sales meeting, you would not be in there vaping at this meeting. Have a little
Right.
professionalism, and I think they were right. I think it
Yeah, I
is.
guess so. Yeah.
Took a
Yeah.
while, and I it took me a while to get there, but I did get there. I did get there.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Yeah. We talk about making a recommendation. I didn't bring one today either, but
I
um,
recommend listening to this podcast.
recommend listening to this podcast, being honest, being kind, being fair.
I think I don't know if you've noticed that, but someone commented one day that we're doing good on our podcast, but some of making a good podcast with another person, you have to have one, we have to be able to look at each other. I
Yeah.
watched some of the early ones and I caught myself not being able to look at you. I was always looking away, looking up, looking sideways because it's
Right.
nerve-wracking to stare someone in the eye. And another one um, is knowing when to stop talking to let your podcast partner talk. And
Well,
you got to pick up on the cues. Like,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was one of them. I don't know. We didn't mention that in manners, but yeah, interrupting people isn't, that's the truth. And again, I mentioned that as just society. We're just like, we're always kind of, it's like rapid fire. Like we're just not as patient as I think we were at one point, and just taking the time to sit down and having a conversation honestly and openly and looking someone in the eye and just going slow almost is like, it feels nicer. I could just take your time.
but I think some young people, it's not even their fault. They don't know how to function with just one screen, even. Like if they're watching TV, they have to have their phone going too. Like they just
We
can't take
didn't,
it.
yeah, I mean, we didn't even touch on that, but a couple of times it was a thought of mine to say that because, there's a lot more social anxiety these days too. Like, again, isolation, maybe it was COVID or whatever, but I think younger generations have a tougher time having a face-to-face conversation.
I agree.
When we were kids, you picked up the phone and you called somebody. Now it's just a text, and it's a text that isn't even, as you talked about, not even necessarily complete words. It's like you can use emojis and have a conversation.
Right.
Um, so some of the
And what
formalities,
about ghosting people on text? I
yeah,
hate being ghosted.
I know you do.
I hate it.
Yeah,
But I've said this on other podcasts. Sometimes I've realized that it's not about me. But my mind immediately goes to the worst possible thing. Why is he ghosting me? Oh, he's mad at me. Oh, he's not. What did I do? And then you find out, no, I was busy at work. What are you talking about? I was doing something. But ghosting is a new thing because you didn't used to ghost people because, I mean, I guess you could not call them back if they left a message or something like that. But I mean,
the
it
term
was
didn't even exist, right? It's just like,
no, no. But anyway, I don't really have a recommendation this week.
that's all right.
I we've been like I said, I've been trying to watch some lighter television, and I'm way behind on this. But we've been watching Schitt's Creek. My goodness, I like
Hmm,
that show.
that's funny.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
it was the motel that they filmed it at is literally 5 kilometers from our house.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, if
yeah,
I'm ever up there, I'm gonna get you to take me down and look at it. I'd
yeah,
like to see
yeah.
it.
It's a funny show. They're great.
They really are. My
Bunch of
goodness.
Canadian comedians.
I was thinking about how long Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara have been working together. I mean,
Oh wow.
they used to be on
Yeah.
SCTV. I used to watch that
Yeah.
when I was 10. I
So
mean,
good.
just
So good.
and then all those movies they did, like A Mighty Wind, and all those shows they did.
I think Dan is great in the show too. He's just
Oh,
hilarious.
and he wrote it.
He did, yeah.
And he
Yeah.
said he was watching like a reality show, like The Real Housewives or something. He said, "Imagine if all these people, the way they're acting, if they lost all their money, what would happen?" So that's what he wrote.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
no, it's great. I
I,
would
Catherine O'Hara's voice, I can't get over the accent she does. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but oh my gosh, it cracks me up how she talks.
oh, she's great. Yeah.
And the daughter, that we laugh because the daughter has her hands like this all the time. She's everything. She's just got her hands like this all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Okay. You're recommending that. I'll actually recommend because we just started watching it. There's a show, I think it's on Apple called Little America.
Okay, I don't know that one.
They're all true stories. Um, they are, as far as I can tell, primarily about immigrants that have come to the US and then something interesting has happened. But they're because they've all kind of grown up and it's all happened, most of them start like they're occurring like in the 70s.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so anyway, it just follows their life, and then it kind of like it shows this kind of interesting, you know, something interesting has happened to them, and they're just like they're like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, but they're all true stories, and they're heartwarming and funny. So I think
Little
it's worth it.
America.
Little America, yeah,
Okay, I'll check it out.
and it's just one like you can watch one. They're not in any way linked, so you can just watch one and call it a night or whatever. So
It's on Apple.
Apple,
Okay. I
yeah.
watched uh, speaking of Eugene Levy, he's got a travel show on Apple we love.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I watched it too. What's it called?
I can't
Uh,
think of the name of it now, but it's Eugene Levy's travel show, but my
something.
goodness, it
Yeah,
was good.
I watched it too. Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
Yeah, he's so funny.
he's great. He's got some impressive eyebrows, eh?
Oh my goodness. He's expressive.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Good
Well,
brother.
seeing you, good catching up.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. It's snowing here quite nicely. I think I'm gonna go make a soup.
It's a good soup day.
Yeah,
Yeah, I we're gonna have leftovers from last night, and then next Sunday's the Super Bowl.
it is. Yeah, maybe we'll do a football podcast. We have not done. We both love football, so maybe that would be easy.
You know what? We should, and I think there's lots of ways to talk about what we talk about in football. I think that would be cool.
One of my favorite quotes from last year was what was it again? Oh, Taylor Swift's boyfriend's playing at the Usher concert this weekend.
That is funny. And he's playing this year, he's playing at the Kendrick Lamar concert. So
Oh, I can't believe it. Anyway, maybe we should do it next week because that here we go again, eh? Patty Mahomes.
yeah, I got lots to say, but let's save it and talk about it.
All right, brother.
We'll do a special episode next week.
Thanks for today.
All right.
Show some good manners and stick to your morals.
I will, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye. Love you.
Love you, brother.
They don't need a man who's got it made. Always looking for that renegade. I calls it like I sees it. A spade is a spade. A good man is a thing of yesterday. Yeah. They don't want them a good
All right. See ya.
All right, brother. See ya.